the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
And welcome to the Tech Ranch, everybody. Marlo Anderson, your Guru of Geek. I'll try that again. Marlo Anderson, your Guru.
Yes, folks, that is Marlo Anderson, your Guru of Geek.
I can't even say it. Your Guru of Greek, I guess. So, oh my goodness.
And all Greek to you.
Sitting across from me is
Jim Silrum.
You had to wait.
I had to wait.
I was giving you this introduction, this rocky theme.
Marlo, you know I don't like to wait.
There we go. Yes. Jim Silrum is in studio today. He's become a really good friend of the program, so really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
You just brought something up to me right before the program started, and I said, you have to stop right now because I want to be amused and amazed and all this stuff. And there's something going on with the UPC codes that everybody needs to know. So we'll start right there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but there's an effort afoot to replace barcodes, otherwise known as UPC codes, with QR codes on product packaging by 2027. And what amazes me about that is I didn't know barcodes were created in the 1940s, but QR codes were created, in the 80s or 90s? I can't remember which.
You think it's been that long ago already?
It has been that long. And
that does surprise me, actually.
And what amazes me is that here it is, 2024, and we're going to replace 1940 technology with 1980 technology when it's, so.
But the QR code really didn't take off until about 10 years ago.
Well, apparently neither did the barcode take off because I don't remember barcodes from when I was a kid. You remember going to the grocery store and they had to key in all of those items,
yeah.
And so it just, I don't know. It feels to me like, isn't there more technology that's out there now that we should move to something new?
There is. First of all, though, I do find it interesting that a QR code would replace a barcode. There is more information that you can glean from a QR code, though.
Right.
I mean, there's just so much more that can be, put
Stored
into that code. So I can understand why
absolutely
they would want to do that, because my goodness, it doesn't have to be a code that gets looked up. So if the code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, for example, then I guess a 10 wouldn't be there. It'd be just 1 0 then, right? But you know what I'm saying. I don't know. And there's so many UPC codes that are available. There's I remember when I was getting a couple of UPC codes for products. There's all kinds of different formats too. There's actually a format for libraries.
Yep.
I don't think people realize that. And then there's a format for there's like 8 or 10 of them, and there's one that's the most popular that's used on products, but there are some things that are very specific to industries like libraries or whatever. So,
as I understand it, like you said, more information can be stored in the QR code and is because they want to have product information.
Yeah, exactly.
How many calories, how many grams of fat, that sort of thing, which, I don't know. Yes, there are times when I want to look at that sort of stuff on the packaging, but most of the time when I go to the grocery store, I know what I want. I grab it and I go.
I just wonder though, as I'm thinking about this, most people don't have a barcode scanner on their phone. And even if they did, if they scan something, what kind of information are you going to get from that? Right? probably not a lot about the product, right? You could, if you scanned it, you could look it up, and then you could probably find information that you need to. With a QR code, you can scan it. It can take you to a place. It can, like you said, show you all these things on your phone already. And I would imagine that when it's scanned at the till, that just like a barcode, so it kind of helps the consumer and helps the store at the same time, because you can have, you could have a QR code for a XXL shirt, and in that, I'm just using this as an example because I have a terrible time with buying shirts, and so I wear a XXL long, so they have the T symbol behind that. Difficult to find those shirts anyway. I guess to be fat and tall just doesn't work for the clothing industry, but what can I say? But the difference in the length of talls drives me crazy.
Yeah. Right.
So I was so excited here not too long ago. I go into JCPenney when I was in Vegas, and I'm like, oh my goodness, look at these beautiful shirts. They're XLTs or XXLTs. So I bought 3 of them thinking they were on sale. They were not. They were like, they end up being $50 a piece or whatever. Not that that's a terrible price for shirts, but the regular size were at 30. So my surprise of it being $60 more when I rang up, but I'm like, I don't find shirts like this very often. I didn't have time to try them on. Mistake number 1, right? And then I'd travel home to here to Mandan, and then I put them on for the first time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like Omar the tent manufacturer made these shirts. What part of, they like go to my knees. So I guess there's a difference between somebody who's 6'3" and somebody who's 7 foot tall. And does the T fit into, I don't know. But getting back to my point now, the QR code, if I could scan that, might have the actual length of the shirt. So I could just look at that and say, all right, this shirt is down to my knees, and I don't need to buy this then. Or if I find one that is the appropriate size, I'm just thinking through the QR code a little bit. To me, that would be really valuable.
It would be valuable provided they have that on there, because I know sometimes when you go online to look at things, they don't contain that information.
That is true.
They would have to add that. And honestly, Marlo, I think the difference in sizes, like one shirt manufacturer's extra large is another shirt manufacturer's medium,
right?
Or vice versa,
right.
That sort of thing. I think that keeps people from going doing things online.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I certainly see people, and I do it myself all the time too. I'm in a store or whatever, and I don't know enough information about what they have and what I'm looking at buying in front of me. And I'm always on my phone looking at, more information about this product. And Jim and I will be back after the break.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Tech Ranch. And I'm going to do it proper this time. Jim, be quiet. It's hard for him. I can see it already. It's really difficult. He's got his lips pierced together. Like he needs all. Now he's just smiling. So there we go. All right. Anyway, Jim Stillroom in studio, becoming a great friend of the program. So you seem to be our standard fill-in now when Steve or I are unavailable. I don't know how you feel about that.
Can I talk?
You can talk now. Oh my goodness. What's crazy about this? I think I've started a new show called The Absurdists.
Yes, and I think it's appropriately named.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I meant for you.
Oh, not so much for Mary.
Oh, I meant for not so much for the show, but for you.
That I'm a living absurdist.
Yes.
I agree with that. I think that I love the name. I've had it in my head for a few years, and I'm just so excited that I'm bringing it to life now. And I'll have to have you on that show too. I think you would bring a little absurdity to the conversation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the bills that I've read over the years of laws that were tried to be pushed through.
That would be funny to hear about, actually. We talked about, there was one episode we did a few weeks ago around the absurd laws in the United States. Of course, like, you can't ride your camel on a improved road in Nevada, or you can't swim in the Red River nude after 8 a.m. in the morning, which I think is hilarious. I guess before 8 a.m. is okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one bill that was going to be was presented before the legislature in North Dakota, and that was a registration for strippers. Oh. and they were going to have their registration with them at all times, and we were just kind of scratching our heads over that one, and one of the employees in my office said, "Jim, I'm quitting. I'm going to be the enforcer of that."
Would it require a tattoo, or?
Has to wonder.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Well, we are talking about technology today, so I guess maybe the QR code would have worked.
Yeah.
On that.
Well, the nice thing about that is the QR code wouldn't have to change if the information behind the QR code changed.
So that's the interesting. That's a great point about QR codes too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just catching up to us, the segment before, we were talking about, Jim had brought up that the QR code is potentially replacing the UPC code on packages, and both of them are relatively old technologies. The QR code has become popular again. And just to back up a little bit, I guess, it actually, I think for the most part, was on its way out in 2019.
Was it?
And then 2020 comes along and COVID comes along, and the restaurants that were able to stay open, one of the things that they worked on, of course, was the fact that menus wouldn't get passed around from person to person to try to slow down the spread of COVID, right? So they went to this, putting a QR code on tables or whatever for menus. And that kind of really revitalized it, in my opinion. And then all of a sudden you started seeing them everywhere again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that you need a QR code anymore, because anything can be a code. Jim's face, by the way, and he may not have known this, but Jim has his own code already. And every time he walks through an airport or wherever, they know who Jim is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really... So, and the point I'm getting at here is that anything can be a code. I'm looking at my table here. There's a coffee cup with some stuff on this Solo Traveler lid that's on the top of my coffee cup right now, that itself is its own QR code. If you really think about it, it could be that code. And all you would have to do is just scan that with your device and you would get information about it. So, but the thing is that most people don't think of things that way.
Right.
They have to have, when they see a QR code, most people understand that you can scan that with your device and that will bring information. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's my update to this. So the stripper law for North Dakota and the fact that she had to wear, or he, I guess it doesn't matter, right? Didn't matter. Had to, if that law would have passed, the license would have had to been on that person. Is that what you're explaining to me here?
That's how I read the bill that was put before the legislature. But
so do you believe that if somebody that was in that profession actually had a QR code tattooed on their body and that actually worked and would take you to the information for the license, that the state would have been okay with that?
Well, I don't think the bill passed. So,
well, right,
but,
right.
Yeah, I would think that would be the case. But as with most laws, your point is quite on point, shall we say? Because I can imagine people putting a whole lot more information than just their license number in their QR code.
Right.
And people would be scanning that and getting a whole lot more than they bargained for by going to whatever that person puts.
That is true.
That
right.
And QR code.
But that's what's wonderful about a QR code is that unlike a UPC code where it's just a static type of code, a QR code can be updated.
Right.
It's the same code, but you can add more and more information to it as you need it to reflect, the information that's changed. I mean, if you've come out with a new ingredient that's been added to your dessert, for example, you can just add that without having to change the code on it. So that's interesting to me, actually.
They think it's going to take, who knows if 2027 is going to be when they get to it, because as you can imagine, the packaging changes are going to have to happen over that time. And for the standardization of what has to be behind that QR code, just like with the barcode. I mean, you said you purchased barcodes for your,
yes.
And so there are very specific rules that go into that because you are specific to, that barcode is specific to your business.
Right.
And so it is quite labor intensive.
It is a process, and you can go on the market now and just buy 100 or 100 UPC codes for your product or whatever that somebody else has licensed the whole stack, and then they just give you those 100 there. So anyway, I guess we're at the break already, so we'll continue this after that.
And we're back. Don't miss a minute of the Tech Ranch as we explore the cutting edge of tech with Marlo and Steve. For more exclusive content, visit thetechranch.com.
And we are back. Sorry about the countdown. Sometimes I don't know if we have a hot mic or not. I need to be careful, which is, people always wonder why I don't swear. It is kind of funny. And I've never been one. I mean, sometimes you get upset or whatever, and sometimes something will fly, or if I'm, trying to tell a story or something, but I've never been one to actually use that type of language, I guess. I don't know. I think a person can be, you can, tell stories or whatever without having to, there's plenty of other word choices.
Yep. And it's like my mother always used to say, Jim, what you do in private will ultimately be revealed in public.
That's a good point, isn't it? I think my mother was more along the lines of, I got so tired of tasting Ivory soap, because she certainly used a lot of soap on me, washing out my mouth when I was a kid.
I agree with you. And was I ever mortified when they came out with liquids?
Oh, that is hilarious. I have been my entire life. I find it hard to buy bar soap nowadays.
Yeah, you still can, though.
You can. Yeah. I mean, I believe it or not, still use Ivory soap. People always ask, how can you smell so good? And I'm like, it's nothing more than Ivory soap. That's all I've ever used my entire life.
Let it be known, I do not say that.
You do not
Marlo.
say that. That's correct.
And I am never that close to you.
And I'll say that I appreciate the fact that you are not that close. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to buy bar soap nowadays. I've been thinking about just going to liquid too. I didn't realize, and then believe it or not, this has a technology twist to this. How much soap scum is left in your shower by bar soap?
By any soap.
That's true, but I could see where with bar soap that it's still a little wet when you put it down or whatever, and then it just goes down the sides of your shower or whatever. I could see that with a pump with liquid soap that you probably don't have as much of that issue going on. And the reason I'm bringing this up is since we're on this topic, is Alice, my wife. She's been cleaning the shower recently with an attachment to a Dremel.
Really?
I don't know if you've ever seen these things, but it's like a scrubbing sponge or something, and it just takes that soap scum right off there. And that's how I've discovered this, because I would never know if there wasn't a technology twist to cleaning,
Yeah.
Because, I like using the vacuum cleaner because it's technology, for example, because I just turn it on and watch it. But
you mean your robotic?
oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Most vacuum cleaners these days are mechanical in some way.
Yes.
But usually they've got my hand attached to it. And so I'm not all that wild about it.
My mower is the same way. I get such a joy just sitting back in my chair and watching it work. It's just so amazing.
Yeah. They don't have baggers for those, though.
They don't. But I think it's healthy for your yard to mulch it up as well, right?
You don't have as many trees as I do, Marlo.
That is true. I have one.
Oh, yeah. I can't even count the number that I have in your yard.
And quite a few. You would. It would be fun to run a robotic mower on your yard one time, just to see how it would handle the trees. I'm serious. I think it would be an interesting experiment for a company like Yarbo to come out to you. Well, I'm working on that product endorsement for you here now.
Whatever robotic mower company wants to come out and use ours as a test, it would be great. I've got lots of trees. I've got hills. I've got retaining walls. I've got lots of obstacles in the way. So
perfect testing ground for any company out there. So, if you're involved with a robotic mowing company of any kind, so please reach out to Jim Stillrum here in Mandan, North Dakota. And you can just reach him through care of the show if you like. We'd be happy to put you in contact with him. Anyway,
well, thanks, Marlo.
You're very welcome. Hopefully that'll work for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have any other, speaking of yard stuff, do you have any technology that you use in your yard? Because you have a challenging yard to keep up.
Yeah. Well, pretty much the typical ones, like a trimmer, both, for bushes, but then also trimmer for weed whacking, but it also converts into an edger, that sort of thing. Anything that I can do with a powered tool, I'm happy with, not because there's just so much to do in the yard. And, but other than that, I would say no.
So do you have a hand push mower yet, or do you have a riding mower?
I have both. The walk behind mower is for trimming, and the riding mower is for the bigger spaces.
Gotcha.
It's, as you can imagine, I don't have a zero turn riding mower, so those tractors that you use, they don't turn all that well to go around trees.
You wouldn't have. You have so many trees in your backyard, though, that even a zero turn probably wouldn't work very well, right? Because there's not a lot of space between a lot of the trees.
In some cases, I'd still need to have the walk behind, for sure, or a robotic.
What about leaves? What do you do with leaves?
Well, I have lots and lots of cottonwoods in my yard, and they generally I have to mulch them up first.
Okay.
Because otherwise they just fill up the bagging system quickly.
So you run the mower over them first and just mulch them, and then
then I pick them up.
Gotcha.
So it's can be quite a chore.
And this is where the riding lawnmower really comes into play, I'm sure.
Oh my goodness, I'd never get done mulching up the leaves with my walk behind.
Yeah.
And it's a good one too. It's just having that small swath is not not sufficient enough for getting through the yard that I have.
Yeah, amazing. And I just turn on my app and push
Yeah, good for you.
And once in a while, like once a week or so, I'll edge. I don't have the edging feature turned on my mower yet. I'm doing a lot of yard work right now, so I haven't, but that'll be the next thing for me, that's for sure.
Thanks for staying with us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
So we're talking about mowers all of a sudden.
Yeah, what a jump from QR code
I guess so.
Barcode to mowers.
But yeah, it's so you'd asked me before the break, my mower has an edging feature on it, or maybe we talked about this during the break. I don't remember now, I guess, but my robotic mower has an edging feature on it. I just haven't turned it on yet.
Tell me what you mean by edging, because I have a thought in my head as to what edging is, but what do you mean by it?
Well, maybe I should say it's a trimming feature, but it's called edging. So edging isn't like, running down the sidewalk and making sure that you have that.
It's not
edger.
Like that. It's
not that. Okay. Edging on the robotic mower basically would go as close as it could possibly go to the fence.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to take your trimmer out. And so it does the edge, the parameter of the area that you mow. So when it's mowing, it'll go and then it sees. So my mower has like a dog fence, electronic dog fence line around it. So to keep your dog in the yard, for example. This works on the same principle to keep my mower in the yard. And when it reaches that line, it just stops. And the edging feature then would actually, I think it kind of centers on that line that you put down and then goes around the parameter of your yard. So like in the front yard, one of the wheels will actually be on the sidewalk as it's going down. So then it gets that edge or down the driveway or whatever. Otherwise, if it didn't do that, which it doesn't do right now, by the way, I need setting to set that up yet. Then I have to take the trimmer out there and do that 2 inches or 3 inches or whatever that it's not mowing right now. So if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it does. Going along the fence though, the mower would still only be able to get as close to the fence as the housing would allow it, correct?
That's correct. So, the sidewalk is easy.
Yeah,
because it can go right onto the sidewalk and do that. But the fence, there's probably an inch or an inch and a half that it just can't mow. So you still have to go out and trim, those spots off. I did get some new, oh my goodness, trim around all of the landscaping stuff. They have I forget what it's called. It's called edging. I had them, I had the cement team come in and do that real nice little edging, and that really works well for the lawnmower. Oh my goodness. I mean, because I can have the lawnmower's wheels kind of pop up on there and it mows the grass, and it's just great. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So anyway, so I was just thinking about other yard stuff. LED lights. Do you have any LED lights that you put out, or solar LED lights?
I used to, but they would last about a year, and even though I would have to take them in the wintertime, they would just not hold up. So the stuff I could buy that I could afford was never worth it for me to replace them.
When you say they didn't work anymore, what would be the reason that they just got beat up or whatever? And
they just quit working either. And obviously I was buying probably pretty cheap stuff, but they'd work for a season and then they just stop working.
Gotcha.
So, and the ones I bought just had those internal solar batteries, so you couldn't replace them.
I see.
And but I would imagine with better technology and better quality, they'd be nice. But
there's no doubt that the technology continues to improve in solar LED space. the first thing that I do, I mean, I always look to make sure that the battery can be replaced, but they always come with the cheapest batteries you can possibly imagine, so you can get like, a lot of times I'll buy like a solar light and it will have, I'll open it up and there's a 600 milliamp, AA battery in there, right? But you can buy 3,000 milliamp batteries, and that's what I do. I'll just, I won't say I chuck out the 600 milliamp. I actually hang on to those in case I ever need them for anything. I have a charger that I can put them on, or if the battery goes out in the lamp, if something happens to it, you can always put the lower quality one in there until you get a replacement for it, But it's amazing the difference.
Yeah,
it really is. I think they figure, and I guess I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but if you have enough sunshine and you can get that battery charged up during the day, right? And it does it in 3 hours. Okay. I'm just using this as an example. Once it gets to the maximum, it can't process any more electricity, right? So then as a result, then maybe your light will only work for 3 or 4 hours at night. Well, if you get a bigger battery, one that holds more milliamps, then you could potentially have that thing charge all day. And then at night, it might last 4, 5, 6, 8 hours. I have a couple on my deck that work all night long, which is amazing. I wake up in the morning and they're still shining outside. So, and it's simply because I just replaced the batteries in them. So that's usually the first thing that I do, Jim. I can't remember the last time I bought one that had an internal battery. And by the way, even though they're internal like that, you can still replace them. It just takes a little soldering iron or something like that. I mean, it takes a little more because they're usually soldered into place or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can buy solar lamps now. I mean, I think I've seen them at the dollar store occasionally.
Yeah.
It's incredible how inexpensive they've become.
Oh yeah. That's usually where I've bought them before. And it's, they've just, so I honestly, for exterior lighting, I've gone back to, electrical.
Sure. And I'm sure it's wonderful.
Well, it's reliable.
Yeah. There's that as well. Right. And then, if you're using LED lights in those, even just standard, it isn't even that expensive to run those that way. It's just that solar is just so convenient because you don't have to wire anything at all. You can just place it where you want it and it works from there, So there's a little give and take with quality versus convenience, I guess, more than anything else. I am a big, I just love LED lighting and the possibilities. We have these flowers that we've been purchasing lately, and they look gorgeous by themselves, sunflowers and tulips and violets or whatever, but they're plastic outdoors, or outdoor, I shouldn't say plastic, but they light up at night. Oh my goodness. Our neighbors are even commenting about how beautiful they look at night. So it's pretty cool.
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch.
So, Jim, do you watch Netflix?
I do.
Do you have a genre that you tend to stick to a little bit, or do you like to watch all kinds of stuff?
It's all over the place, honestly.
I like the feature of downloading, by the way, because, with traveling, even the other day when I was flying back to town here, have you seen the Wyatt Earp and the Cowboy War?
Not yet.
I think that just came out, and I watched it on the plane last night. Watched most of it on the plane last night. Narrated by Ed Harris. And I love this style of documentary, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, you almost feel like you're in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they got this driving bass beat when these outlaws meet at the OK Corral. And I'm just like, this is a documentary? Are you serious? this is like exciting stuff. And, the storytelling and all the nuances, because they talk about all the nuances around the OK Corral and how it actually impacted the entire nation. And you wouldn't think that a simple gunfight that broke out would have those type of ramifications, but it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Netflix, by the way, has a bunch of hidden codes.
Really?
I didn't know. You didn't know this.
I did not.
So if you go to Netflix-codes.com, so Netflix, Netflix-codes.com, and you can go there, and there is, I think, 3,800 subsets or subgenres that you can go and look in. So if one of the things with Netflix and any of the streaming platforms is that they kind of have this algorithm that they base on at, like what you watch, and then it suggests these others. And then it's like, are these the only shows that they have on these programs? You kind of get to that point after a while, right?
Yeah.
So 36,000 codes. I'm just reading through this right now. So you can type in, for example, and a code is a number. So you, in the search area, you would type in 43040, and you would get action comedies. And it would list all of the movies that it thinks it has for action comedies. 7442 is just adventure movies.
Mm-hmm.
But it lists all of them. It's not just like 8 of them or 14 of them or whatever. You get to see all of them. Of course, you can always search by, a type of genre or whatever as well. But I think you don't even realize the types of genres there are. 7,700 is just straight Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just type in 7,700 and it will list all the Westerns. I think that's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. 36,000 of these subsets, and you can just go in there, and they have, if you go to Netflix-codes, and we don't represent them at all, just so you understand, but they have 15 subgenre or subsets for comedies. So you could just click on that, and it would give you those codes then for action comedies and romance comedies or whatever it is that you want to research. And so it's pretty cool. Netflix-codes.com.
Cool.
I bet you're going to go there, aren't you?
I probably will.
Yep. Do you have a specific genre that you really like to watch?
Oh, I like mysteries and a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So you could type in the mysteries codes, and you would probably have another, 8 or 10,000 hours of viewing opportunity for you.
For sure.
I don't know. I'm just making it up, of course. But check out Netflix-codes.com and find out all those codes that are out there to improve your Netflix experience.
Supertalk 1270.
Welcome to August 24th on the National Day calendar. Today, we're enjoying a slice of summer and celebrating a breakfast favorite.
Let's start with the sweet and juicy celebration of National Peach Pie Day. Peach pie is a classic summer dessert, capturing the essence of ripe, fragrant peaches in a flaky, buttery crust. The history of peach pie literally goes back to the early settlers of America who brought pie-making traditions from Europe and adapted them to the fruits available in the New World. Whether you prefer it with the lattice crust or crumb topping, peach pie is a delightful way to savor the flavors of the season. Why not bake one today and enjoy it with a scoop of vanilla ice cream?
Peaches, 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 I love you.
I'm not a big fan of peaches by themselves because of all the fuzz, but in a pie, they're perfect.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't agree with you more. What's the difference between a peach pie and peach cobbler?
I would say that the cobbler is going to have more of that crumbly crust on top, and it's kind of in a pan without a bottom crust.
Either way, I love them.
Yeah, it's food.
It's food.
Speaking of food, let's shift gears to a breakfast classic, National Waffle Day. This day commemorates the anniversary of the first U.S. patent for a waffle iron granted to Cornelius Swartwout on August 24th, 1869.
Eureka!
Waffles have a rich history dating back to ancient Greece, where they were cooked between 2 metal plates. Today, waffles come in many varieties, from the classic Belgian waffle to savory options like chicken and waffles. Whether you enjoy them with syrup, fresh fruit, or a dollop of whipped cream, waffles are a versatile and delicious treat. So fire up your waffle iron and celebrate with your favorite toppings.
Manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Okay, so when it comes to waffles, I can't lie. I love all type of waffles, like chicken and waffles, fruit on top of waffles. I even like a warm waffle cone with ice cream in it.
I'm a big fan of hotel waffles.
Ooh, okay.
So I actually have one of those hotel waffle makers at my house.
Like the big ones you flip?
Oh, yeah.
Is that like the weekend special?
Absolutely. And the best part is at my house, I don't run out of batter.
So I'm totally coming over this weekend for breakfast.
All righty.
I'm LaToya Johnson.
And I'm Chris Vandeventer.
Thank you for joining us on our journey to celebrate every day.
Until next time, keep celebrating.
Supertalk 1270.
This is the Pet Minute. I'm Steve Dale. Why it's important to have pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Next. Your dog loves going to the dog park and seeing his buddies. Maybe sometimes when you travel, he gets to hang out with friends at his favorite boarding facility. Social dogs like yours need more protection than most. By pairing Bordetella Protection, also known as kennel cough, with immunity against canine influenza, we can help ensure these dogs stay healthy. Merck Animal Health wants you to talk with your veterinarian about pairing up for protection with vaccines for your dog for kennel cough and the canine influenza virus. Don't wait, vaccinate. Domestic violence doesn't usually start with humans, according to Purina's Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Kurt Venader.
Approximately 70% of domestic violence victims report that their abuser has either threatened, injured, or killed their pet. 70%.
The Purple Leash Project is working to make domestic violence shelters pet-friendly. Learn more at purpleleashproject.com. For the Pet Minute, I'm Steve Dale.
Supertalk 1270.
Summertime is too short to always be waiting for the weekend. I mean, all week long, it's just wake up, go to work, get off, go home, make dinner, go to bed. Well, all summer long, we put a little weekend into your weekdays. Join us for Bike Night 2024. This year, we're giving away another CF Moto motorcycle from Dvorak Motorsports and RV Center. Make new friends, meet up with old ones, grab refreshments, and take a night off from cooking. Make it your 4-day work week.
Bike Night presented by Seafoam Motor Treatment, Mandan Sporting Goods, Morris Sport and Marine, Acme Tools, Custom Truck Equipment, Dvorak Motorsports and RV Center, Larson's Tattooing, Superior Silkscreen, Dennis Kirk, and Abate of North Dakota.
Bike Night every Wednesday night with Sicky's Garage Burgers and Brews and
Supertalk 1270. KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franza. NASA announcing 2 astronauts on board Boeing's test flight in June to the International Space Station will now return in February on a SpaceX flight. Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams forced to stay at the ISS due to problems with the Boeing capsule. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson says safety drove the decision.
We want to further understand the root causes and understand the design improvements so that the Boeing Starliner will serve as an important part of our assured crew access to the ISS.
Boeing, in a statement, said in part it's preparing the spacecraft for the safe, uncrewed return. A New York judge has denied Steve Bannon's motion to dismiss criminal charges related to an alleged fundraising fraud involving donors of that We Build the Wall campaign. Hamas has sent a delegation to Cairo as brokered ceasefire talks continue, but gaps remain between Hamas and Israel. This is ABC News. In Germany, special police units now joining the manhunt for a suspect in a knife attack at a diversity festival that left 3 dead and others wounded. Police are not ruling out terrorism. ABC's Marcus Moore is on scene.
German officials searching for a suspect in the deadly stabbing spree at a festival in the city of Solingen. It happened around 9:30 Friday night. A man went on a rampage attacking people at random with a knife. Police say he killed at least 3 people and seriously injuring multiple others. The attack can canceling the 3-day Festival of Diversity, celebrating the city's 650th anniversary. Zolingen's mayor writing on Facebook, "Tears in my eyes when I think of those we have lost. I pray for all those who are still fighting for their lives."
In Pakistan, a roadside bomb authorities say was attached to a motorcycle went off near a police station, killing at least 2 children, authorities say, and injuring more than a dozen others. Authorities say no one has claimed responsibility. I'm Michelle Franz on ABC News.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Supertalk 1270, Bismarck area weather.
With your forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. Hot today with a high near 91. The heat index into the mid-90s. South winds will gust over 25 miles per hour. Tonight, clear and breezy, 71. Sunny, hot, humid for Sunday with a high near 92. For Sunday night, chance of a shower and a low of 64. If you're looking for a new place to live, stay, work, or play, check out Worthington, Minnesota. It's worth a look.
Right now, it's 80.
From ABC Sports, I'm Joey Waller. Right now, this year's college football opener in Dublin, Ireland, third quarter. Number 10 Florida State and Georgia Tech are tied at 14. Zach Pyron and Jamal Haynes with 1-yard TD runs for the Yellow Jackets. Lawrence Toafili, a 28-yard run for the Noles. Yet another milestone last night for Shohei Ohtani. The LA Star belts a walk-off slam against the Rays. First Dodger, 6th major leaguer, and fastest ever in a season with 40 homers and 40 steals.
One of my top memorable moments, and I hope that I could do more and make more memorable moments.
Ohtani threw an interpreter in 10 innings. The Mariners walk off against the Giants, capping Dan Wilson's debut as Seattle interim manager, replacing fired Scott Service. M's GM Jerry DiPoto discussing Service.
I've trusted him in just about every way you can with each job that he's done when we've worked together, including the 9 years that he spent here with the Mariners as our manager. I think he did a tremendous job in stabilizing our major league clubhouse and building a culture of work and focus.
Meanwhile, ESPN's Pete Thamel says UConn is in early talks to join the Big 12 in all sports. ESPN's Kevin Connors reports.
Big 12 presidents will reportedly meet next week to discuss the possibility of adding UConn to the league, a move that would expand the conference from 16 to 17, sources tell ESPN. UConn officials were in Dallas last week to present the league with a plan which included major investments to all sports.
WNBA last night, sun nipped the sky, but Chicago's Angel Reese with 20 boards, first in league history with back-to-back 20 rebound games. And in golf as we speak, BMW Championship in Colorado, the leader Adam Scott, 12 under through 2, and Keegan Bradley, Ludwig Hebert, 2 back. Joey Waller, ABC Sports.
Are not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Need cash help but have bad or no credit? Then you need to go to FastLoansAI.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 regardless of your credit score. FastLoansAI.com is one of the largest lender networks. Their advanced technology can help anyone get up to $10,000. Best part? Money can be in your bank account as fast as the same day. When you need fast cash, go to FastLoansAI.com. That's FastLoansAI.com.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
I'm often asked what the most common mistake travelers, especially leisure travelers, make. Here's my answer.
From America's #1 travel radio show, this is your RM World Travel Minute. I'm Rudy Maxim. Years ago, I saw a huge advertising poster covering a wide expanse of a wall in a London tube station. It was a sepia-toned photograph of an elderly couple sitting in rocking chairs on the front porch of what looked like a cabin in Appalachia. The poster advertised travel to the country of Turkey, but it was the caption that got me. It read, "Remember that time we almost went to Istanbul? And that's the mistake we make. We fail to act. We might say for years, we ought to go to Paris someday or Hong Kong or Yosemite someday, but someday never happens. Here's how you avoid that. You pick a firm travel date, even if it's a year or more into the future. That way you have something to focus on. You make no other plans for that time period. You save up money. You research your trip. You book ahead. All the things you may need to do to avoid becoming that couple in that poster." More travel info at armworldtravel.com.
Talk of the Town with Steve Bakken. Weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
I was still with a bottle of rum sitting on it.
All right, here we go. Hi, it's Chris Van Deventer. Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. In for Marlo Anderson for a little bit here with Jim Silrum. Jim, how's it going today?
Not too bad. It's beautiful weather out there.
Yeah, it is. And, earlier this summer here in Bismarck, the weather wasn't terribly good. I mean, we had several big thunderstorms come through. And Marlo knows this, that, for years I've kind of been an iPhone photography buff.
Okay.
Using the iPhone to take pictures. And actually, about 10 years ago, I actually went on a iPhone photography safari in Cape Cod.
Okay.
Was a professional photographer who's really fallen in love with his iPhone since the earliest versions. And this is back when the iPhone 4 was still out, and the cameras have gotten so much better since then.
Mm-hmm.
And his argument is that the best camera you can use is the one that you always have with you. And,
sure.
When a lot of these storms come up, I love lightning. My wife loves thunder, and there's an app I use on my phone. It's called Lightning Cam. And I take these pictures of lightning, and everyone's like, well, how'd you get that shot? And it's sometimes you think, I'm just sitting there and I'm hitting the shutter going 1,000 times a minute trying to catch this bolt of lightning. And I don't really know how it works. It's I've used it ever since the app came out. And you just basically, it's a motion sensor.
Okay.
For lack of a better term, and a light sensor. And it'll actually sense when there's a flash of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes 3 photos in rapid succession.
Okay.
And inevitably, it's going to catch that bolt striking the ground.
Hmm.
And I've shared a number of those. I put them up on the Sky Spy photos here on our local news channel. And I really like it. The biggest issue I have with it is that it catches too much sometimes. Whether it's daylight out, it'll catch cars going by and stuff.
Okay.
And, but I really enjoy that. Really just taking any kind of photos of scenery or just random objects.
Sure.
Making it look a little bit more. I know you're a Google guy. Do you do a lot of photos with your phone?
I certainly do. Yeah. Probably not as much as my wife, but I love photography. Always have. Way back even to, the SLR days. And so having my own, not my own, but a developing studio that I used, that sort of thing. Just understanding that from way back is cool to see how far the technology has come.
Yeah, now you get like 24 to 48 megapixels on these pictures. And I've always found what's interesting is a lot of there's apps that emulate old style vintage photography.
Okay.
I had a couple on there that would replicate an old tintype type sepia color. I actually have an old box brownie that I took some photos with just to kind of compare, and it does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And one thing I found is most of your digital cameras these days, they have an infrared filter on them.
Yes.
Because digital sensors are so sensitive to infrared light.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it'll block that. I learned early on that the iPhone 4 did not have an infrared filter in front of its sensor.
Okay.
So I actually went out and got some really, really dark red neutral density filters.
Okay.
Like to block a lot of those the red end of the spectrum. And I got some pretty decent infrared photos with my iPhone 4.
Really?
They come out really red.
Yeah.
So you have to shift them over to black and white, but they did a really, really interesting job. Used to use a lot of different lenses that would just clip on. Allo Clip was one of them. Now that they've added the extra lenses to the phones, I don't really know how much those interchangeable lenses really work anymore. I haven't really gotten one in a long time. But there's just so many different options you have to make unique photos.
Right.
Even some of the macro options you have, do a lot of flower photography, get up really close. Insect. I had one, I took a picture of a spider crawling around on a towel once, and got some really nice close-up shots until he jumped on my phone. Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock to see.
I would imagine.
Yes.
I would imagine. With that app that you were talking about earlier, capturing lightning, have you ever used it for photographing the night sky, like during the Perseid meteor showers?
There isn't a lot of light from the meteor showers that would actually trigger it. You'd actually have to have that really bright flash. I have gone out in the past and set my phone up on a tripod and just tried to take long exposure photos.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really downside, I think, of a lot of these, is that there's no way to hold the shutter open.
Yeah.
I used to take some astrophotography on some old film cameras, and you could just lock that shutter open and just take star trails.
Right.
And you can do that to a certain degree with the phones nowadays, where it's just a blurred kind of, where it's just, they stitch a bunch of individual photos together to make it look like the shutter was left open. I've used it on waterfalls and whatnot.
Yeah.
To kind of get that flowing effect. I guess that's the one thing downside I'd say, is that it's not very convenient in the way to manipulate the shutter or the aperture. You have some control, like manual controls, where you can adjust the ISO and the shutter speed, the aperture. But really, these lenses are so small that they have these fixed apertures, and anything you do to kind of adjust that, it's all going to be in the software side.
Right.
But you could really take some really interesting photos.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see, I've seen some of the Google Pixel phones where they have a lot of the smile recognition or head swapping capabilities. Those I'm really excited about. You can do that with the iPhone, but I think it's apps you would use, and just sort of getting used to blending images. I did one where there's my son with his grandparents, and my father-in-law would always blink. And I was able to finally get one where it was just the two of them, or the three of them, and one where he was open and the other two were closed, and I was able to merge the two online.
Okay.
And it came out to be a really good photo. It's really nice to get something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for staying with us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
continuing on the topic for optics there, I really would like to see certain advances in eyewear. I'm one of these people, Jim Silram here, who I have to wear a certain pair of glasses when I'm reading a book or on my computer, and then another pair of glasses that are bifocals when I'm just around. Well, on my way over here to the studio today, I was going, why is everything so blurry? What's wrong with my eyes? And I pulled my glasses off and realized, oh, I'm still wearing my reading glasses and what I think would be cool technology, if it could exist, is where the lenses that you wear for glasses would almost act much like a camera lens, where it would adjust the focus so that it would, whatever you're focusing on would always be in focus. Whatever you needed to look at, I'm sure it would probably not be a great thing for optometrists, because they would, people wouldn't have to change their glasses so often. But it seems to me that all the technology that has gone on into things, technology you wear over your eyes lately has been for virtual reality, that sort of thing. But how about regular reality? How about, I can't be the only one that wears computer glasses and then wears a different set of glasses for everyday life.
You're right. I'm in the same boat with you. I've been wearing bifocals since I was 9.
Okay.
Mainly from the time that I needed reading glasses and distance glasses. And at the time, it's like, well, you're 9 years old. You're probably not going to be able to take care of them as much as you should. So we're just going to put you in bifocals.
Okay.
And then I just became overly dependent on them.
Sure.
And then I've never been able to wear progressive lenses. Progressive lenses are supposed to try to achieve that sweet spot where no matter where you look, it's going to be at that sweet spot. But my dad started wearing those, and it just takes a while to get used to. I've been so used to my lined bifocals for so many years that I'm always looking for that.
Yeah.
And then I had cataract surgery about, I'm coming up on maybe 10 years now.
Okay.
And so I'm permanently farsighted now.
Okay.
I used to be so severely nearsighted. I was so bad. My lenses were Coke bottles, literally.
Okay.
And now I have to go back. I was always having to wear computer glasses and my bifocals just because of that focal distance point.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like I can't even read anything without glasses just because I'm permanently farsighted with that artificial lens they put in. I wish that there'd be a way that, and the advancements is probably in those lenses they put into your eye when you have cataract surgery.
Yeah.
Because those are rigid. They're not flexible like our human lens. And I think that there'd be so many opportunities to advance that, some sort of a moldable or a responsive lens that you could actually have in lieu of one of these rigid ones where it's a set focal distance.
I agree with you, Chris. It seems like they're, eventually what the lenses that they do for replacements could be within your eye could be that way, but why not as a stepping stone work on the glasses that so many of us in the population wear? Seems like you could do all kinds of things. I've even envisioned, if they are indeed like camera lenses that are connected to your phone, why couldn't you just always be recording, and therefore you're if you want to see something that just happened, did I really see that? You look at your phone and back it up a little ways.
Oh, okay.
And hey, I really did see that. And I don't know. It seems to me that technology needs to advance in the way that people need to live their lives. And I think so much of technology is focused on how we could entertain ourselves, and I think this would be a huge advancement. I would be the first in on it. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those that can develop that technology.
Right. I have seen ads for the supposed multiple focal glasses, and it's like, oh, never swap glasses again. We just have whatever focal distance you need. They're right here. But then when you look at them, they have little screws on them, and it's like you're wearing one of those eye test devices on your face at all times.
Oh, okay.
Where you're constantly adjusting these independent lenses to the right point. And I'm like, I'd just give me my glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make me go. I think they just make it too difficult sometimes to try and do that. But yeah, they look very chintzy.
Well, for our young listeners out there, please remember, take care of your eyes. They're really incredibly important to you. As a 63-year-old man, who needs glasses to read. If you take off my glasses and ask me to read something, I'm functionally illiterate because I can't see the text. But then to be able to see clearly far away, it's things I used to take for granted. And it's not going to be that way always, but maybe with technology we can solve some of these things.
Yeah. And, I would say I don't recommend having cataract surgery at a young age, because the younger you are, there is risk of retinal detachment, because I did have a detached retina not long after I had my cataract surgery. But I'm able to drive without my glasses now.
Nice.
I mean, I've been wearing, like I said, wearing bifocal since I was 9.
Mm-hmm.
And when in between surgeries, it's like I couldn't drive with my glasses on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I can see. This is weird. And I don't know. Yes, so there has to be some sort of sweet spot. My grandpa, when he had his cataracts out, they didn't put lenses in. So he always said, oh, got to get my driving glasses on.
Yeah.
Jim, as you're talking about some new technology that would do this, I actually pulled a prank on one of my coworkers when I went in for my cataract surgery. He knew I was a big iPhone Apple guy. And I said, yeah, I'm going to have the new eye installed. And it's like, he's like, what's that? It's just a heads-up display. It's a small little lens that goes right in my eye, and I can just take whatever I want. It's like Google Glass, but on a smaller scale. And he actually bought it for about 30 seconds. But yeah, it was fun at the time.
You're listening to The Tech Ranch, where technology comes alive. Let's dive back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve. And don't forget to check out thetechranch.com for more.
You're listening to The Tech Ranch. This is Chris Van Deventer here with Jim Solrum still. And Jim, let's talk about the moon.
All right.
We've had astronauts up there. We haven't sent anybody up since the 70s. And one thing I didn't realize is that there is no time on the moon.
Yeah.
And this much, when you're on the International Space Station, you have to go off of whatever clock you decide on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's relative. Well, it looks like NASA is now looking to create a standard time for the moon and giving it its own time zone. And I thought, well, yeah, that should be fine. But, it is 250,000 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And its gravity is maybe 1/6 of ours. I didn't realize this. Atomic clocks on the Earth, if you transport one of those up to the moon, it's going to click slower.
Right.
Than it would here on Earth. I thought atomic clocks vibrated regardless of where they were. And that's what made them so.
And I guess
perfect.
It's a slight variation. It's not huge, but it's so much so. And with the amount of stuff that's going up in space now, not only is NASA getting into this, but other countries around the world are agreeing that there has to be a standard space time zone that can be referenced so that they can make sure their calculations are all correct.
Yeah, this is from the National Institute for Standards and Technology. Researchers have developed a blueprint for precise timekeeping on the moon, paving the way for lunar GPS. And this is all tied into the Artemis program, which is supposed to send humans to the moon by 2026. And not only that, it's the timing is it's key for navigation as well. We take it for granted here on Earth that we have our GPS,
right,
and it knows where we're going, but that all depends on time.
It does.
And it says atomic clocks on the moon will tick by 56 microseconds faster per day. Yeah, so it affects spacecraft landings and Earth communications. So I guess what it comes to is like, what day is it going to be on the moon? We have the international dateline. So where does it fit into the 24-hour clock here on Earth?
That'll be a good question, but I'm sure it will fit somewhere in there. Otherwise,
the time zones have always fascinated me. Having lived all over the world, China is time zones tend to be more political. Right, we have daylight saving time here. India's time zone is on the half hour because they sit between two meridians. They decided, well, we don't want to pick one or the other, so we're just going to be we'll have a half hour time zone. Yeah. China stretches over 5 time zones, but it's all one time. So they just put the entire country in one time zone. It's interesting to say the least. And I think this concept of lunar time, you need that. You need that if you go to Mars. Lunar positioning to help us navigate. Because, a lot of times they just stayed within sighting distance of the lunar lander.
Yeah, but, when you're talking that kind of distances, the old geometry question back in high school was if you're traveling that far and you're only off by a fraction of a percentage, with your calculations, you're going to wind up being, many thousands, if not millions of miles away from your destination, right, because you're heading in the wrong direction.
Right. Yeah, on Earth, that was the old time. You knew how far north or south you were, but until a really decent timepiece was invented, sailing ships, it was kind of a roll of the dice. You sailed east or west, and unless you knew what time it was back home, you didn't know how far you had gone. And if you were off course, you're right, you'd miss these entire things. I saw something recently where this is how ghost islands came about. There was an island in the South Pacific that was on Google Earth for the longest time, but the island never existed. It just appeared on so many of these old maps that it got added. And ultimately, Google finally took it off, I think. But it was like these, I am on this island here. And it's like, no, you're actually on this island. And so these islands just that never existed would get listed on maps. And it was all about timepieces.
It is fascinating to me that time and positioning really have anything to do with each other at all. I mean, they do, but when you think of, I'm standing here in this place right now in Mandan, what does time have to do with it other than that I may be standing here at 1 in the afternoon or 10 in the morning. It just, but when you get down to the level of what they're having to deal with, yes, time does have significant impact on it.
I've been reading the biography of Albert Einstein.
Okay.
And how he came up with the theory of relativity in certain degrees is it was inspired by these patents that kept coming across his desk for a precise method of synchronizing clocks. Because at the time, this was in the early 1900s, but railroads would set their own time zones. And so you show up and well, nope, that railroad's running on this time, and this is my local time, so you miss your train.
Mm.
So in Austria, they were coming up with these ways to use electronic signals to synchronize the clocks. So they were all going to be the same across Europe.
Mm.
And that's how he kind of got some of the ideas for relativity. And how that time is relative. It's like, just very interesting to me.
Me too.
And makes you want to go buy a new clock. I wonder if it's different if I have one of the cats with the eyes or if it's just a standard Rolex or something. I don't know.
Have you ever been to the NIST facility in Colorado?
I have not.
Yeah. I think the first time I was there, I was really geeking out over the atomic clock that was there. I had to buy several of them.
Oh, really?
Yes, they had a gift store, and but
they sell little atomic clocks.
Yes, they have those, and then NIST is a fascinating organization.
Yep, I would say so.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. We're thrilled to have you with us as we continue exploring living with technology alongside Marlo and Steve.
Yeah, Jim, speaking of time in space, there's a bit of a drama going on up there right now.
It sure is.
Yeah, we got a couple of stranded astronauts.
Yeah.
What is it? They've been up there about 2.5 months. They were supposed to be there for a week, and their space capsule is pretty much stuck for the time being. And have you heard anything new as far as what they're planning on doing to get them home?
The only thing I've heard is they're continuing to investigate what's causing the thruster malfunctions and the helium tank leak, but who knows when they'll be able to come back unless they get those fixed.
Yeah, because it's right now you only have the Soyuz capsule up there, which is kind of used for the main return flights. And then you've got the Boeing, what they call it, the Starliner on there right now. Apparently there is supposed to be another SpaceX flight up to the in February of next year. So there's talk about maybe only sending 2 astronauts at that time instead of 4 and letting these 2 Boeing astronauts come back on that one back in February. And they might actually bring home the Boeing capsule empty this time around. It sounds like only one thruster is failing and they do have this helium leak. But the worry is that once they undock from the space station, what happens to if those thrusters fail when they're trying their deorbit burns? I mean, actually, you don't want to have an accident like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was mentioning to my wife this morning, it's like, so you think Boeing has lost their contract? But NASA says they need 2 different spacecraft because of situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just rely on one to get them where they need to be.
Yeah. Like Boeing has had a tough go lately.
They have. I have a friend, they used to live out in Seattle, and just a lot of and this may be me talking out of turn or apocryphal, but they say that a lot of the older engineers, the ones that have been there for forever, just finally retired. And so the institutional knowledge isn't there anymore. And again, I'm just basing this off of random conversations with my relatives, but there's definitely something going on. And we'll let the politicians and the lawyers deal with that side of thing. But when you're talking about these astronauts, they're getting a extended stay in space.
Yeah. You think what that does to their psyche, if they were indeed only going to be up there for a week, and now they may be up there until February.
Yeah.
It's like, it brings new meaning to, hi, honey, I'm going to be home late from work.
And you think about some of these astronauts, they had Mike Massimo, former shuttle, I think he was a shuttle commander or he was an astronaut. I just remember him. He was on The Big Bang Theory when they sent Howard into space.
Yeah.
And he was only in space twice. You see these astronauts, you think, well, they've been up there forever. And he was only there twice. And then I saw Mark Kelly. He spoke at the Democratic Convention. Last night. And he only went to space 4 times.
Right.
And it's like, wow, I thought they were up there a lot longer.
No, it's quite a challenge to even get on the list to go.
Yeah.
It's fascinating all that goes into it, but I say it's always better to be safe than sorry, especially in situations like that.
Absolutely. I was living in DC the morning of the Columbia disaster.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping, and then I got a call from my roommate, and he's like, turn on the TV. It's like, what's happening? He said, well, the Columbia crashed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what? He said, yeah, I got to get going. He was President Bush's limo driver.
Oh.
So he's like, yeah, I got to go pick up the boss from Andrews.
Okay.
It's like, okay. So yeah, I was up the rest of the day watching that disaster. And then I remember Challenger. I was in elementary school when that happened. I didn't watch the launch like some of my other contemporaries did, but I was at the lunch table and somebody said the Challenger had exploded, and you forget how dangerous space travel is.
Oh,
and it's amazing just how much we've been able to do and how relatively safe it has been, other than these big dramatic disasters. It really feel for those guys up there, and maybe they'll come up with their own solution. Get Tom Hanks on the phone and get some duct tape and some tubing.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Ron Howard will film the film the biopic.
Yeah, pretty much I've been alive since space race began. And so I remember sitting on my father's shoulders in Yellowstone National Park watching the landing on the moon the first time.
Oh, fun.
And they had these just tiny little black and white television screens mounted on the poles of the main lodge, and we were all just crowded in there watching them. And to think where we've come since then in space travel, but it's still a very, very dangerous occupation.
Absolutely. I've even come across working for the calendar and trying to come up with content for our podcasts and for the radio station. I actually came across a corrected audio. YouTube is really a good source of this, is of the very first Alan Shepard launch. It's got the full audio and it's been cleaned up, and you can actually listen to the whole thing. When Alan Shepard went up back in, was it 61?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think something around there. Yeah. The last Apollo landing took place before I was born, but I'm 50 years old. So that's still a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to this Artemis mission, really wanting to see more and more of what we can accomplish once we really get back into space and have a permanent base on the moon.
Sure. I think there is lots to explore there, and lots of fun will be had in exploring. But I also think at the same time, there's a whole lot of Earth that we haven't explored.
The deep ocean, we haven't really gone down there. Jason Statham, he fought those 2 Megs, but we really don't know what's in the deep ocean.
No, we really don't. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see where things go. I'm looking forward to the first man mission to person mission to Mars. I think that'll be fun.
That would be very fun, and we'll see if the movies turn out to be true.
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch.
Supertalk 1270.
This is Outdoor Issues with Neil Roberts and North Dakota Game and Fish outreach biologist Greg KLXX.
Talking fall seasons again in this report. And Greg, a vital component to all of this is getting set up. That includes the license. Online is the best route, right?
For a lot of us, the thing that we always think about is, all right, I got my gun, I got my shells, but make sure that you're licensed for each species that you do. And, it can get a little bit confusing, but probably the quick and easy way is to look at all the rules and regulations online. The Game Fish app is something definitely you want to have on your phone. I use mine all the time for not only reviewing the rules and regulations, but also the weather data and everything. When it comes to waterfowl, especially, you do need a federal duck stamp, and they did change that this year. So hats off, you can actually buy that online now and not have to wait for that physical stamp. The federal duck stamp is $25. And also for those that hunt migratory birds, everyone needs to be HIP registered, which is the Harvest Information Program. So you can do that really quickly on the Game Fish Department website or again on the Game Fish Department app.
All right, good stuff, Greg. And hey, we'll talk more on fall opportunities when we come back.
Tom also lost $30 million in crypto. Tom, how did you fall for that? I mean, even Gronk was like, me know that not real money. Like,
you saw her take down the Forum at the greatest roast of all time, the roast of Tom Brady. Here comes Nikki Glazer, Alive and Unwell Tour. Saturday, August 31st, Fort Bears Casino and Lodge. Tickets on sale now at fortbearscasino.com or 800-294-5454. Fun buses available.
Thank you, good night.
Fort Myers Beach is back. Discover the brand new Margaritaville Beach Resort, Fort Myers Beach. Escape to our beachfront paradise with the perfect blend of adventure and relaxation. Taste the tropics at our 6-island-inspired bars and restaurants. Dive into Fins Up Beach Club, the action-packed aquatic playground featuring a lagoon-style pool. Unwind in the laid-back luxury of your oceanfront room. Indulge yourself at St. Somewhere Spa. Margaritaville, Fort Myers Beach, the perfect escape. Check us out at margaritavilleresorts.com.
Talking fall opportunities today on Outdoor Issues. And Greg, we've been talking hunting a lot, but maybe don't put that boat away quite yet. Good fall fishing across the region, right?
Absolutely. Probably one of my best things to do is a cast and blast where you have shotgun in the boat or shore fish or just simply get out and enjoy the outdoors. There's a lot of great things that happen in the fall in North Dakota. The weather's a little bit more mild, but make sure, again, to get all your licenses on the Game and Fish Department website.
Good stuff, Greg. And hey, that'll bring this report to a close. Until next time, I'm Neil Roberts.
You've been listening to Outdoor Issues, brought to you in part by Fort Bears Casino and Lodge near Newtown, North Dakota, by the Margaritaville Resort on Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and enjoy a home-cooked meal at Homesteaders in Minot.
Supertalk 1270.
All winter, when it was minus 20 with the bitter wind blowing, you pledged that when summer came around, you'd spend as much time as possible outside. Well, we're outside every Wednesday night, all summer long. Bike Night 2024. This year, we're giving away another CF Moto motorcycle from Dvorak Motorsports and RV Center.
Bike Night presented by Seafoam Motor Treatment, Mandan Sporting Goods, Mort Sport and Marine, Acme Tools, Custom Truck Equipment, Dvorak Motorsports and RV Center, Larson's Tattooing, Theodore Roosevelt Medora Foundation, Budweiser, and Black Star Realty.
Bike Night 2024. Make it your 4-day work week every Wednesday night, all summer long with Sicky's Garage Burgers and Brews and
Supertalk 1270.
I don't know about you guys, but I always talk about I think a lot of people complain about the cost of their smart devices, the monthly fee.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, I go to the top end all the time. I think Alice and we probably spend $250 a month for our two devices. I don't know. Okay. Where are you and Marcy at, Jim?
It's pretty cool. Okay. Well, no, our smart device is probably, I think it's 140.
Okay. Yeah. I know that if we shopped around a little bit, that I know we could save money. There's no doubt about it with what we have, but because of travel, I tend to me, it's about as much about the coverage as anything else. If you're very specific about an area that you need to have coverage for, and you look at a T-Mobile or whatever, and they're good in that area, and you don't travel away from that a lot, then by all means, you should have a lesser cost or less costly package. Their services, and I don't again, we don't represent T-Mobile or AT&T or Verizon or anybody, but that to me is always the big deal, is the coverage part of it,
Sure. Yeah.
To start with. But anyway, it's the amount of money you save with the device. How much money do you think you save on gasoline every month because now you can just drive exactly to where you need to go?
Never thought about it.
But you do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you and I are both of an age where we used to have maps, and you would guess and you'd miss turns and you'd do all of this stuff. The GPS in a phone is a huge asset and saves you a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, when you really think about that. The other thing, one of my favorite stories to tell is I was pulling into Rapid City late one evening, and late would be 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something like that. And I didn't have a hotel yet. And I was on one of the travel websites or on their app, and I found one of these places that normally goes for $150, $200 a night had a room for like $75. And I'm like, last minute type of deal. I'm going to take that. Bang, I take it. I'm in their parking lot, by the way. So I go in, and then there's a couple in front of me, and they hadn't made a reservation either. And they were asking, well, what's the room rate? And she came back, and this is like 4 or 5, 6 years ago already. So she comes back and she's like, it's $169 a night. And they both look at each other and they say, well, we'll take that. And I wanted to scream at them and say, just go in the parking lot and use this app. You'll get it for $70, or whatever it was. Because I'm standing in line listening to this, and I just got that exact same room that they're getting for $169 for $70.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, I mean, that's $100 I just saved right there because I had a device, and I got that reservation before I went in. So you do save a lot of money because you have your device. So I don't tend to, when I think about it that way with the cost of a smart device, I think about the money I save, not how much I spend.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, Marlo, I think COVID actually kind of caused this, but sometimes the data behind your searches is outdated. Like last Sunday, I leaving church, I Googled where brunches near me.
Oh, yes.
It took me to a restaurant that probably had brunch at one point, but no longer did. And by the time I was there, it was like, well, we're not going somewhere else.
That sounds like a crazy, frustrating experience that I can relate to.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a town square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The manhunt continuing in Western Germany for a suspect who killed 3 people in a knife attack at a festival in the town of Solingen. Today, ISIS, in a statement through its news agency, says the group is taking responsibility for the attack, saying the man is a soldier of the Islamic State. ABC's James Longman has more on the attack.
This was a festival of diversity. 80,000 people were due to attend over 3 days. This was an attack that took place in the city centre where music was being played, but all that has now been cancelled. The police have put out an alert because the suspect is still on the run.
Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams will spend 2 more seasons up at the International Space Station. NASA announcing today the 2 astronauts on board that troubled test flight of Boeing's Starliner in June will return in February on a SpaceX flight. Candidates are off the trail today. Next week, Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign has added an event in Georgia. This is ABC News. The nation's most noted virologist is recovering after nearly a week in the hospital for a viral infection.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, is recovering at home after a hospital stay for a West Nile virus infection. The 83-year-old was reportedly hospitalized for 6 days before being sent home. Infected mosquitoes spread the virus, which in the U.S. sends some 1,000 people to the hospital each year. Most cases are mild, but about 100 people die in the U.S. from the infection every year. As for Fauci, doctors say they expect a full recovery. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Negotiations continue this weekend between Canada's largest railway companies and the union railway workers after the union gave notice to strike on Monday when Canada's government forced both sides into arbitration following a brief lockout. The potential strike could impact the U.S. too and cost an estimated $70 million a day in lost commerce. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text RIP to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone-boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now, and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text RIP to 42424. That's RIP to 42424.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent it.
Supertalk 1270, Bismarck area weather.
With your forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. Hot today with a high near 91. The heat index into the mid-90s. South winds will gust over 25 miles per hour. Tonight, clear and breezy, 71. Sunny, hot, humid for Sunday with a high near 92. For Sunday night, chance of a shower and a low of 64. If you're looking for a new place to live, stay, work, or play, check out Worthington, Minnesota. It's worth a look.
Right now, it's 84.
From ABC Sports, I'm Joey Waller. What a college football season opener moments ago. Georgia Tech upsets number 10 Florida State 24-21 in Dublin, Ireland. Aiden Burr, a winning 44-yard field goal in the final play. Earlier, Jamal Haynes with 2 short TD runs for the winning Yellow Jackets. Little League World Series, that U.S. final starting shortly in Bourne, Texas. It'll be Lake Mary, Florida, taking on Texas. That winner plays Chinese Taipei tomorrow after their 4-1 win earlier against Venezuela in the International Championship. Yet another milestone for Shohei Ohtani last night. The LA Star belting a walk-off slam against the Rays. First Dodger, 6th major leaguer, fastest ever in a season with 40 homers and 40 steals. So is Ohtani thinking about being baseball's first 50-50 player ever?
I think the most important thing is to be able to contribute winning the game. And obviously the closer I get to the 50-50, the more I'm contributing to the team win. So if that's how it is, then I'm happy for that.
Ohtani threw an interpreter in 10 innings. A Mariners walk-off last night against the Giants, capping Dan Wilson's debut as Seattle interim manager, replacing fired Scott Service. M's GM Jerry DiPoto discussing.
This has not been a terrific run for us over the last 2 months, and it was a very difficult decision to make, but I thought one that our team was in need of, and we need a different voice and a different direction, and I think that can be provided by Dan Wilson.
Right now on the board, Interleague top 3, Rockies a 4-0 bulge on the Yankees. WNBA last night, sun nipped the sky, but Chicago's Angel Reese grabs 20 boards, first in league history with consecutive 20 rebound games. At the BMW Championship in Colorado, the leader Keegan Bradley 11 under through 6. Joey Waller, ABC Sports.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Need cash help but have bad or no credit? Then you need to go to FastLoansAI.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 regardless of your credit score. FastLoansAI.com is one of the largest lender networks. Their advanced technology can help anyone get up to $10,000. Best part? Money can be in your bank account as fast as the same day. When you need fast cash, go to FastLoansAI.com. That's FastLoansAI.com.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.com.
Conservative talk without apology. The Regular Joe Show with Joe Gigante. Weekday evenings at 9 on Supertalk 1270 and the free Supertalk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
So, Jim, what do you know about data breaches?
Well, I used to have to,
as a former
monitor
the
that
Secretary of State's
quite
office.
a bit, but fortunately, I had tech people to do that for me as well. But other than that, I know it's a very serious thing in today's day and age.
So, given that the U.S. population is around 8 billion, right?
I don't know that, Steve. I honestly don't know.
Is that the global population? I don't know. It's a tech thing. But I want you to put your Secretary of State hat because you worked on the security side of stuff. What would your reaction be if I said hackers just leaked 2.7 billion data records with Social Security numbers?
Oh, that would be a nightmare.
You think?
Yeah, that would be
a little bit there. I might hurt. Okay, now we got to get all new Social Security numbers. Because that's the thing. It's like, what do you do if your Social Security number is breached?
Yeah.
And that personal data? Because almost everybody's had a credit card or a debit card stolen or lost. And just jumping through the hoops of replacing that, getting accounts frozen. Or, if it's stolen, getting that lockdown so there's no fraud. What do you do with a Social Security number? It's not like you go, hey, federal government, I was compromised. I need a new Social Security number. That doesn't work that way.
No.
It's cradle to grave. That tracks you. It's with you for life.
Yep.
You don't just get a new Social Security card. 2.7 billion personal records, including Social Security numbers, were leaked from national public data on a hacking forum. Just, hey, we could, so we did, so let's throw it out there. Exposing sensitive information of people in the United States. That's a majority of the population.
Right.
That's crazy. And now that's just sitting out there on the dark web.
Yep.
And not all dark web. It's just on the web. Because I remember a friend of mine sent me a message a couple of weeks ago. It's like, hey, were you one of the compromised? I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about? Filled me in, sent me a link to check. And I'm like, oh, I got a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
It was a data information site that it didn't have my Social Security number, but it had a lot of other pertinent information on it that, given somebody with the right credentials, could do a lot of damage.
Right.
So I went through the whole process, locking all this stuff down. I'm like, wait a minute. How easy was that?
Well, and the scary part about that, Steve, is that even those links that people can provide to you to check it, they can also be
data mining as well.
So it's like really got to be careful, and I don't know. I think it's not going to stop it entirely, but I think our laws have to be beefed up so much that really the book is thrown at you if you do any of that. Hackers of the evil kind, because I know there are white hat hackers as well. But those of the evil kind, I think the book needs to be thrown at them. We have to do something to deter people from doing this.
Summary execution. that might be the only route. Well, if you think about how important data is nowadays,
it's huge.
I mean, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. And if you're going to go down that road, given the status of data now, I could easily see it being a capital offense, especially in some countries.
Yeah. But there's always
we hacked your hand off.
And there's always the question of can the hackers make it seem like somebody else was doing the hacking?
Oh, absolutely.
And then we would be punishing the wrong individuals. That would be, again, the terrible thing. But you think of these small cities that are being taken over by ransomware, which then the only way they can get out of it is to pay the hackers a ransom fee for this.
Well, think about the technology around infrastructure. So when you're looking at a municipality, and we'll talk city, city's infrastructure, and think of what they're in charge of. Wastewater treatment facilities, water treatment facilities, traffic lights. Somebody hacks into the system and, all right, every light at rush hour is green.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be.
What's the catastrophic circumstances that just took place? Or you can poison the water supply without anybody knowing you're poisoning the water supply. There are so many places that hackers can go, and a lot of it's because of the technology that has automated a lot of those systems. When you take a look at an automation system, and before you even look at implementing the automation side, you have to look at implementing the security side. It's not a chicken and the egg. It is security comes first. And not a lot of municipalities or not a lot of people in general have that mindset. It's like, oh, hey, great system, let's put it in. Oh, now how do we secure it?
Right.
You have to address the security first, because there are so many holes in a system on a scale of a city or on a municipal scale. If you're not addressing that first and up front, you'll never plug the leaks. You'll never plug all the holes. There's going to be back doors and cracks in the security system all over the place. So you have to think about that first.
Yeah. And indeed, that's why there's good reason for the laws that say you can't, it's not public information to know the security features of a nuclear power plant or a coal-fired.
Well, that's what it used to be,
or something like that.
That's what it used to be. Was okay. We're talking national security stuff, but it's trickled down so far.
Yeah,
you have to think about that in terms of everything now.
You sure do.
So it's not just about the nuclear power plant or a coal-fired power plant or something on a larger scale that's more impactful. It's gotten down to the level where if you're not addressing those security issues on every step, no matter how minute, because what happens a lot of times is a hacker will get through a back door or someplace, the crack. And it's way over there and something somebody didn't think about, but that's where they're looking at exploiting an opportunity, an entry point into your technology. And when you're looking at that in terms of what effect they can have on a population or a municipality, it's great.
And we're back with the Tech Ranch. Get ready for more amazing tech insights from the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Steve Bakken along with Jim on the Tech Ranch today. And Jim, do you use smart speakers? Like the Alexa device?
Yeah, I do. I have Sonos.
Okay, Sonos. And ironically, Sonos specifically, apparently there's a little vulnerability in their system.
Sure.
Where it's allowed eavesdropping via Sonos's smart speakers. So when you are utilizing smart speakers, do you think about security protocols when you are utilizing those?
Only insofar as it goes through my protected network.
Right. You're thinking of your operating system.
Right.
But the speaker itself, and this harkens back a little bit to the Ring cameras when people were going, oh, wait a minute, they're all linked. Yeah, they are, because they talk to each other. So if your smart Ring, this is the way it used to be, if your Ring camera doesn't have to go through your security system, it can talk to somebody else's Ring camera and go through what may not be as secure a security system.
Sure.
So it was kind of daisy chained in that way, and that was a lot of security issues. So NCC Group researchers have discovered that there's some vulnerabilities in Sonos smart speakers that allow remote code execution and potential eavesdropping. So it could be recording or listening to everything you say while it's technically or supposedly not on. Now, the flaw affects Wi-Fi drivers and could be exploited by nearby hackers and attackers. The vulnerabilities have now been patched by Sonos, and updating drivers is recommended. So when you get home today, you might want to update your driver on that, just because.
Yeah.
But that's another hole in the security system.
Yeah.
How many people update their stuff regularly? Now, for me, I've got my stuff set up so, and depending on the device, it'll either auto security update sometime in the early morning hours before I get up and start using it for the day.
Right.
Or I will have everything linked up, so I just push the button and it's part of my routine. It's like
exactly,
you reboot everything basically and reset. Okay, now we're secure again. It's almost kind of like running a test to make sure that your security walls are doing what they're supposed to be doing and in place like they're supposed to be in place. How often do you do that?
Right.
How many people don't do that?
Sure. Well, I can tell you, Steve, that if somebody's listening in on my house, they're going to get very bored very quickly.
But that's not the point. No, the fact is somebody could be listening. Now, if you want to extrapolate that out a little bit, maybe it's not a technology thing. Maybe it's you're eavesdropping on your spouse, or you're eavesdropping on your children, or they're eavesdropping on you, or you've got a malicious neighbor. There's a lot of different ways to go that necessarily aren't the technology side of a hacking, where they're not going after your data or trying to breach your data. Maybe it's something in your personal life that somebody's trying to glean information. So things you need to be aware of. Do you have the right security protocols set up? So like I said, they did the patch, but if you haven't rebooted your system since they put the batch in.
Oh no, I do that all the time, but I think that's probably the wave of the future, Steve, is that some cybersecurity giant, my guess would be like perhaps Palo Alto would start making their services available to the average consumer instead of just large government, large corporations, that sort of thing. To me, that would be a gold mine of value for the typical users to be able to know where your vulnerabilities are, so you could correct them. That would be huge.
But there's a cost.
I think people would be willing to pay a minimal fee for that, and if you have people using that all around the country, all around the world, that company is going to be very wealthy.
Okay, but there is a tipping point to what that cost is, because you got to remember, and I firmly believe this, people are inherently lazy as well.
Sure.
So if you're not going to be utilizing a system that automatically does it for you, and I was not diligent at all. Marlo kind of made me that way of, okay, I get up in the morning, and other friends in cybersecurity, I get up in the morning and make sure that all those protections are in place before I start my day, if I'm going to be on the computer or whatever device I'm on. Most people don't do that. Now, if you had a company that, like a Palo Alto, for example, that wanted to trickle down into the consumer side of stuff, then now what are you looking at? So you're looking at, in their big portfolio, because they're doing contracts on a massive scale, there's a lot of extra cost to trickling down into that, say, residential side versus governmental or commercial applications. And there's added cost that comes with that. So if you're going to get down into that space, what's the tipping point for the end consumer? I mean, it's like, okay, people don't like updating or paying for updating their Microsoft or their NordVPN or whatever their security system is. They complain about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's more expensive than that to have the proper security, are you, what's the tipping point? Are you going to pay for it? Because a lot of people won't.
Sure. And I know there's varying scales, like the most everybody these days has a smartphone, and you generally have one, whether you're considered wealthy or you're considered middle income or on the poorer side of things, you have it. So I know they're going to have to factor that in, but it's on the scale of Steve. I've always thought that if I could come up with something that is very minimal in cost but everybody needed to have it, I'd be a very wealthy man over that because of that sort of transactional. So I think the same is true with this.
Okay, so Marlo and I always talk about these great ideas, and we just kind of throw them out there. And if somebody wants to follow up with them, hey, go make money. It's like, it's a little refreshing that you're like, if I could do that.
And I'm not saying I could do that with cybersecurity. I'm not gifted that way, but I've always had that idea of create something that's less than $1 and make it so that everybody has to have it. Man, you'd be a wealthy individual.
Very much so. Jim, go home and reboot your Sonos speakers when we're done today. It might be a good idea.
You've returned to the Tech Ranch, where technology is our passion. Let's jump back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve.
So how often do you use Bluetooth technology?
Every time I get into my truck.
Okay, well, I would, but mine doesn't always work because I drive a Ford.
Are they a sponsor?
No, it just, my one vehicle, the Ford, just does not like my phone or does not like Bluetooth.
No.
It's better. It's a 2017, so but it's I have connectivity problems all the time.
Oh,
I'm like, come on, pick up. Nope, it's a delay.
Maybe what you need to do is like I did. I have a 2017 as well, and I actually went into the shop and they did a software update on my.
I've done that. There's just a connectivity issue. Now, I've talked to a lot of people and I'm an Android user, and I've talked to a lot of people that have had similar issues, and they're like, oh yeah, with the invention of Apple CarPlay or the Android version of that, it's gotten a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually got to the point where I went and got the little Wi-Fi plug-in that goes into the cigarette lighter. So now I'm going through my radio because if I'm on a call and I need to be on a call, I know that is solid.
Okay.
Versus a solid connection versus what goes through my vehicle.
Okay. Well, a
little old school technology goes a long way.
Yeah, but you got to be creative. So, like I say, I use it every time I'm in my truck. I use it at home quite a bit too for various things. Just like we were talking about before, smart speakers and the like. But I don't know where I'd be without it.
So what other devices do you use for connectivity? Because when I upgraded my tablet, I went to Bluetooth and oh my gosh, what a world of difference, because tablets don't have all the ports and the connectivity, but through Bluetooth, it's fully functional. I've got everything lined out on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I use it a lot with even just the TV remotes that controls the sound systems in the house, and but other than that, I haven't gotten to the use of that with my microwave. I don't think I need to.
Marlo and I have talked about this in the past. It's when you're looking at component systems, what's the kitchen of the future going to look like?
Mm-hmm.
And everything's controlled off your phone or your tablet, or they interact with each other. So the eggs will come out of the refrigerator into the stove that get cooked. They're interactive systems. That's the future.
Do you think you'll see that day, Steve?
I hope not. I like cooking.
I do too.
I can go chef it. My wife can be mad at me and I'll go chef it up. And she's like, okay, I'm not that mad anymore because I made something really good. I don't see I'm going to have that latitude if the kitchen does it for me. It's hard to get out of the doghouse that way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're going to have to be nice in another way. But I know that's hard for some of us to do.
Well, we've talked about it though. That's the future, that interactive. And how does that all connect? Well, it's that Bluetooth technology.
Yeah.
Or what's the next technology after Bluetooth?
Sure. Yeah. Who knows? I certainly don't know the answer to that, but it'll be fascinating to see what comes. But I have wondered about these people that, they sell toasters, for heaven's sake, that have connectivity, and that's just not something I would buy or feel the need to buy. But at some point in the future, you're not going to be able to buy a standard electric toaster. That's, they're only going to be available just because the market will say, well, you have to buy this, and you'll have to go to an antique store to buy it. But
see, I still like the camping one that just put the bread between and then hold it over the flame.
Yeah.
To toast the bread. I like that one. The problem with okay, it's kind of cool. It's like, okay, you wake up and your coffee pots, you're laying in bed and you're like, okay, I'm tired, but time to get up. So you go on your phone and push your button and your coffee pot starts, and you push a button and your toast starts. And you push a button and your oatmeal starts, or eggs or bacon or whatever you're having for breakfast. But how do you put the bread into the toaster? Because if I leave it in there, if I set it up the night before, like people do with a coffee pot, the bread will be dry and stale.
Exactly.
So what's the workaround for that?
I don't know.
You can do all that stuff off your phone right now. You really can. But who's going to put the bread in for you? You're still going to have to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old cartoon, The Jetsons. I always, thinking back on it now, how did they stay so thin? Because they were on conveyor belts and they were in flying cars, and but their cartoon characters were not fat people.
The dog even walked on a treadmill.
Yeah, but at least now we walk from the bedroom to the kitchen to put the toast in, and
it's funny.
Technology ever get to the point where it's abusive to us?
It's funny you mentioned the Jetsons, and I mean, if you think about it, back when you were little watching the Jetsons, how cool was Rosie?
Oh,
and now we have Rosie. Rosie exists.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie the maid exists. We've got robots that can do all of that. And if you think about Rosie, it wasn't she just responded to, she was interactive.
Right.
Okay, that's AI.
Yeah.
So, a cartoon a little bit ahead of its time? Or a lot ahead of its time?
It was very ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm. I equate a lot of things to science fiction movies and programs like Star Trek and different things. It's like, never really put cartoons in that same category, but they're there.
Yeah, they certainly are. At least for that one. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are.
Well, you had to watch Jetsons. That was kind of...
It was given.
Yeah, that was just a given.
Yep. Just like Gilligan's Island. You had to watch that,
I wonder what Gilligan's Island would look like today. Or Gilligan's Island in space. Which is
that's called Lost in
Space. But they had the ability to go around from planet to planet. What if they were actually marooned someplace? Gilligan's Island Space. I think that's worth a remake.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
So, Jim, you're an Android user like I am, right?
I am.
Okay. And have you tried some of the other phones, like an Apple or the Google Pixel?
Honestly, I have been a consistent user of the particular Android that I've had forever, but
is it because it's like, okay, I got a new phone and I know where everything's at mostly?
But just
habits,
because I trust it, that sort of thing. And well, when I was working for the state, I also had an iPad, so I did get to use the world of Apple a little bit, but for the most part, I've been an IBM connected, Android connected person.
Well, I'm an Android guy too, and it's amazing some of the other platforms, because there basically was two platforms, Android or Apple, and it was pretty consistently split. Well, there's a new Apple coming out, although the security behind it's not that good, and the marketing piece, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But have you followed the Google Pixels? Because Google's really making a push to try to get into the market space. And they're up to Google 9. And I would say that their photographs and what you can do with the imagery with those phones, probably better than Apple and Android right now.
Forgive me, Steve, for not knowing this, but isn't the Google Pixel essentially an Android phone too, though?
It's the operating system is what it's based off of, but the phone itself doesn't function. It's a little bit of a hybrid between the Apple system and the Android system. It falls under the Android category, but the things that they do with it and it can do and the capabilities they keep adding to that phone, they're really starting to take a bigger part of the market. Mm-hmm. And I think the traditional Android market and the Apple market are starting to pay attention, because you're seeing coming out in the newer Androids and that are not Google and the newer iPhones, they're starting to take some of the nuances from the Google Pixel phone and implement it into their operating platform. I don't think we would have seen that 5 years ago. I don't think we would have seen that 10 years ago. I mean, those were just, it's either or. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like Google and the Pixel products are kind of morphing into their own space, their own platform, to where I don't think in another 2 or 3 years, especially with the AI capabilities that are coming out, I don't think we're going to be able to go, yeah, that firmly falls under an Android platform. I just don't think that's going to be the case. And I bring that up because the Apple iPhone 16 Pro now, they're up to, and by the way, Marlo's an Android user as well, and I still give him crap because you know how Marlo always have to have the latest and greatest technology, right?
Okay.
It's like cutting edge as soon as it's, and I got the AI phone before him because he replaced his phone right before the AI version came out, and he's like, but he hasn't replaced it yet. It's kind of weird. But Apple iPhone 16 Pro, new design, well, it's echoed a little bit in the latest leak. And in that latest leak, they're mirroring a bunch of stuff off of the Pixel phone. There's a lot of design stuff in there that, so the big design change, the new cameras, and this is where the Pixel have really kind of got out ahead of everybody else. And the new camera is expected on the iPhone 16 Pro and i16 when they unveil them this fall. The camera is all the difference. It is above and beyond. That's where the AI comes in, though, because when you're looking at the capabilities for, and the Google Pixel started this before, just with the technology, but now the augmented technology with AI, you're able to take a photograph that, okay, you had a better camera than somebody else, but I can augment that now and make it the better picture just from that augmented AI, which now let's flip this over to what's going on politically. And Democratic National Convention just took place, the Republican Convention before that. And we're seeing out on social media all these photos that are popping up. And I don't know if you can believe any of them. Because the deep fakes that are taking place because of AI, and it's as simple as somebody taking a photo on their camera phone and can change whatever they want, and boom, it's up on social media.
Right.
It's crazy what's going on. So, used to be in the political world.
Yep.
What's your take on what is going on from a technology side? Because you also worked with the Secretary of State's office in North Dakota. Some of the cybersecurity stuff, this falls into a weird space when you're marrying social media and the cybersecurity and what's real and what's not. We're in a different world right now.
Oh, and I'll tell you, Steve, I think the amount of deep fakes that are going to be going on between now and Election Day are going to be off the charts compared to what we've experienced in the past. And when I was in that space, it was tremendously a tremendous amount even at that time. But I think based on all of this, it's going to be something where you're really going to have to figure out how you trust the source where something is coming from, because there's going to be a lot of tomfoolery going around, and not necessarily by the candidates themselves or their campaigns, but just people who want to mess with the system.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that just want to mess with the system, and whether they're for or against a political one side of the aisle or not, just to mess with the system because they can. It's gotten incredibly easy right now.
It's certainly gotten easier. Yeah, that's for sure. And when you have nation states that
oh, I didn't even go there. I was just talking normal people that just want to mess with the system, but now start talking about nation states that may want somebody in power instead of somebody else because it would probably be beneficial to them. That's an entirely different level of security.
Yeah, indeed. And they can even do it by making you think they support one candidate when they really really don't support that candidate.
Yeah, that's the deep fake.
And so, but there's no secret to the fact that countries that are unfavorable to the U.S., don't like the U.S., have individuals cloistered in rooms to affect our elections.
Entire departments of military operations just to affect our elections. Jim, it's been fun. This has been the Tech Ranch.
And that's a wrap on another fantastic episode of the Tech Ranch. Remember, if you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology.